I'm sorry. Did she just say that? I blinked hard, gripping my coffee mug like it might anchor me to the folding chair in the community center's stuffy meeting room. Helen, all pearl necklace and perfectly coiffed hair. The kind of smile that's more teeth than warmth. LinkedIn energy in a floral blouse. She just looked at old Mr. Harlan and dropped it like she was announcing bingo numbers. We control your home now, she said, beaming at the assembled neighbors. Honestly, a dog walker could enforce these covenants better. Dead silence. I don't think Harlan even flinched. 20 years in that house. And he just nodded, picked up his battered thermos, the one with the faded Vietnam vet sticker he'd had since moving in. The kind of thermos that had seen more neighborhood barbecues than Helen's overpriced wine tastings ever would. Then he folded his agenda neatly and walked out. No fireworks. No parting shot. Just gone. I think my stomach knotted up like a garden hose left in the sun. I should back up. If you're already leaning forward, heart pounding like mine was in that fluorescent lit hell, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe. It helps more than you know, especially since most folks binge these HOA nightmares without ever subbing. Thanks, it keeps the drama flowing. Okay, so Harlan Whitaker, if you've ever lived in a place like Willow Creek Estates, gated community, white picket fences, underlying chaos, you've met someone like him. The guy who doesn't pipe up at meetings, but fixes the sprinkler system when it floods the cul-de-sac. The guy who doesn't brag about his original deed or his volunteer hours because he doesn't have to. The guy who, when the streetlights flicker or the annual budget's off by a few grand, knows exactly who to call. He mittered half the block on everything from lawn care to dealing with noisy kids. Built the community garden before the developers even paved the roads. When I moved in as a young homeowner, he was the one who slipped me the unofficial neighborhood map. No one else shared it, showing which houses had the best Halloween candy, which driveways to avoid during snow plows, even which board members to butter up, even if the HOA app said otherwise. He didn't grandstand, didn't schmooze. He just delivered. So when Helen swooped in, all buzzwords and faux community spirit, we all braced. HOA president. Titles like that only appear when someone's cousin runs the management company and thinks you're a liability unless you have an app and newsletter. Helen paraded through the block like she'd invented curb appeal, kept calling Harlan legacy resident, and wondered aloud if the old covenants he helped draft were even relevant anymore. Of course they were. Half the neighborhood ran on them. But Helen didn't care. She was on a mission. First came the group chats being optimized. Translation, deleted. Then came the exclusive board syncs that mysteriously never included Harlan. I noticed how Helen's eyes scanned his notes during votes. How she'd echo his ideas 5 minutes later with added synergy fluff about vibrant living. Harlan never called her out. Just sipped his coffee like he was watching a squirrel try to bury a nut in concrete. Bemused but unsurprised. The thing is, we all thought Harlan would be fine. He was the neighborhood's backbone, right? We whispered about it in driveway huddles. How this was just another board shuffle. How Harlan had outlasted worse. Like the last president who tried to ban holiday lights by citing some half-read ordinance. A few of us even joked about him surviving Helen like he did the great fence debacle of '05. But that meeting, that gut-wrenching Tuesday evening, it wasn't even a full agenda. Just one of those performative gatherings Helen hosted where she monologued for 28 minutes, then asked for open dialogue before adjourning. Only this time, she lingered, and Harlan was spotlighted like he was about to get a plaque. I'll never forget how her voice curled around the words. This will be a difficult but necessary realignment. As of tonight, we're sunsetting Harlan's position on the board. Sunsetting, not removing, not restructuring, sunsetting. Like Harlan was an outdated mailbox they were phasing out in a curb update. And then the line, the "we control your home now" zinger, delivered with a smirk like she thought she'd just evicted the final holdout. I expected something, anything. A spark of outrage. A rebuttal, but Harlan just nodded. Eyed Helen like she was a kid playing dress-up in adult shoes. He gathered his thermos, his folder, and a worn green notebook, left without glancing back. I stared at the exit door, so long I forgot to breathe. No one uttered a word. Not even Helen. Especially not Helen. That night, I tossed and turned. My texts buzzed with neighbors asking the same. Why didn't Harlan fight? I didn't know yet, but I would soon. And let me tell you, none of us were prepared for the backlash. Over the next few days, the air in Willow Creek felt like the calm before a thunderstorm. Charged. Heavy. But no one knew where the lightning would strike. Helen moved swiftly. Harlan's name vanished from the HOA directory overnight. His access to the community portal revoked by dawn. His committee assignments handed off to folks who couldn't even spell covenant. No bulletin board notice. Just erasure. Like the board was trying to wipe out 20 years in 20 minutes. Then came the patrols. Helen, in her custom-embroidered smugness, started labeling longtime residents as legacy burdens. Said it like she was quoting from some twisted HOA playbook penned by a PDA mom with a vendetta. She'd show up unannounced at block parties, demand compliance reports before the grill was lit, and grin while asking elders, "What value do you actually bring to our aesthetic?" I saw 3 retirees tear up in their garages that week. One hadn't missed a dues payment in 18 years. The thing about Harlan was he never played the politics game. Never needed to. He was the game board. Everyone else navigated around him respectfully, quietly. But no one questioned that when a gate jammed or a vendor skimmed fees. Harlan was the call. And now Helen dumped those duties on a 28-year-old newbie who once asked if CC and RS were a new crypto token. The same newbie who, by Thursday, had a meltdown after accidentally approving a neon pink fence and reverting the color code to 90s pastels. I heard it secondhand. It spiraled for hours. A resident threatened legal action. And Helen? She blamed a legacy protocol bottleneck. Said it loud, too, like a joke. It was clear she craved total control, not just over rules, but narratives. Helen spun Harlan's ousting as streamlining, called it the tough but vital shift to a leaner, forward-facing community model. If that sounds like nonsense, it is. But it didn't stop folks from nodding like they got it. Fear does that, turns decent neighbors into silent enablers. I'd never seen a cul-de-sac go quiet so fast. Not even during the big storm outages. People started avoiding Harlan's end of the street altogether. That's where he lived, corner lot. Second house from the park entrance. He always left a bowl of mints on his porch for passersby. Silly thing, but I'd catch myself glancing for it every walk. Empty now, like the vibe. The Saturday after his removal, Helen sauntered into the monthly HOA huddle in a blazer that screamed real estate seminar host. She kicked off with a slideshow riddled with more memes than minutes, then dove into a rant about shattering old habits and slaying sacred cows. That's when she repeated it, right there before the whole block. "We control your home now," she said, smirking like she'd coined it. And honestly, a dog walker could enforce these covenants better. I held my breath. Someone coughed. No laughs. She didn't blink. Just advanced to the next slide like she hadn't insulted a man who'd glued the community together longer than her tenure. The worst part? No one spoke up. Not a peep. Not even me. I think that's what cracks something inside. Not the jab. Not the strut. But the hush. The complicity. I watched Helen revel in it. Confusing silence for approval. She thought she'd triumphed. But here's the twist about Harlan. When he left that meeting, thermos in hand, folder tucked under arm, his face held a look I'd seen once before, years back during a nasty vendor audit. The landscaping company had buried a clause that could have bankrupted the HOA. Panic ensued. But Harlan? He wore that same expression, calm, still plotting. He vanished for hours, returned with a legal memo and affidavits. Save the budget, save the board, then resumed weeding the garden like nothing. So, seeing that look again, I knew Harlan didn't exit beaten. He exited scheming, and somewhere in a dusty drawer or sealed envelope, I sensed he'd embedded a clause in the neighborhood's DNA that Helen never skimmed. And now, it had just been activated. The only words Harlan uttered on his way out were, "Take care. More habit than goodbye." No fury, no spite, just that, like he was popping to the store, not stepping from a 20-year legacy. I watched from my seat as he ambled down the aisle, his loafers soft on the linoleum. In his left hand, the thermos. In his right, a slim olive folder with a sticky note half peeled. Founding covenants, do not discard. That folder had lounged in his home office forever. No one touched it. I'd seen kids nearly yank the drawer off trying to snoop once, before he gently closed it and said, "That stays shut." He didn't look back. He got in his vintage Chevy pickup, still sporting the old resident sticker from '04, and drove off without fanfare. The kind of departure that echoes in its quiet, leaving the room hollow. The kind that makes you realize how much one man was the foundation. No email blast, no group text farewell, just void. But while the neighborhood plodded on like normal, Harlan's tale wasn't ending. It was rebooting. Back at his house on Elm Lane, quiet curb, ranch style with the immaculate lawn he mowed like clockwork. He parked, carried the folder inside, and headed straight to the shed. Not the kitchen, not the den, the shed. That's where the old fireproof box hunkered, wedged between tool racks and a half-done birdhouse project he never bragged about. I glimpsed it once at a block party he hosted, where leadership pretended we were family. He kept a folding chair and a radio out there, tuned to classic rock or weather reports. But in the corner, behind stacked seed bags and a flat soccer ball, sat the box. He dialed the combo in 3 swift twists, no hesitation, pure reflex. Inside, another folder, edges yellowed like forgotten wine, but it smelled of dust, ink, and decades. He spread it on the workbench, pressing creases flat. Top sheet, a certificate, embossed, blue ink signature from Elias Thorne, original developer before the HOA corporatized. Next page mattered most. Section 12.3c, typed in old-school font, double-spaced like pre-digital days. The clause was straightforward, legalese dry, but explosive. In the event any founding resident listed on the original covenants is removed from board service without full council approval and without president endorsement, their dormant voting rights, if not relinquished, auto-activate within 48 hours. No appeal, no debate, no delay. A sleeper provision, one of those just-in-case Spitz lawyers bury and ignore. Except Harlan didn't ignore. He co-drafted it with Elias, back when Willow Creek was 9 lots and a dirt road. And now, thanks to Helen's hubris, that dormant gem was awake because she never read past page 3 of anything sans her name. And she damn sure didn't peg the quiet guy from Lot 2 as more than a relic. What she missed, Harlan never cashed out his founder perks, never waived his rights, never even claimed his '08 rebate on dues. He held. And now, because some overzealous busybody made a power play before newbies and retirees, that clause lived. Harlan leaned back in the chair by the workbench, eyeing the paper like an old ally's will. But he wasn't mourning. He was strategizing. He opened the slimmer folder from his desk, extracting 2 docs. One, signed founder rights pact. The other, timeline of board approvals. Initials dotted every major appointment and ouster for 20 years. Helen's name? Absent from Harlan's removal line. President's, too. That's when the wheels turned. The man who walked out that evening was done being overlooked. He grabbed his phone, scrolled contacts most neighbors forgot he had, and stopped on one. Marjorie Klein, retired HOA counsel. He tapped. She answered on the second ring. No hello. Just time to discuss 12.3C. And miles away, I bet she grinned and replied. Wondered when that'd surface. Marjorie Klein hadn't touched a covenant in 8 years. Yet when Harlan called that night, she needed no recap, not even a query on which subdivision. The instant he uttered 12.3C, her tone sharpened from chatty to precise. Tell me you kept the original packet, she said. Harlan didn't reply, just slid a faded envelope across his workbench, the kind with string ties from yesteryear. Inside, founding covenants, his founder verification, and the clause they'd hidden under subheadings and vague phrasing. Deliberately murky to outsiders, ironclad to insiders. Marjorie whistled. She actually booted you without cross-checking the articles. Call me obsolete before the whole assembly. Said a dog walker could handle it. Harlan's voice, steady as ever. Pause. Then her quiet chuckle. Then you're not calling to vent. No, he said. To activate. They synced quick. Marjorie, retired but networked, still had ties to the firm's Willow Creek used for filings. No breaches needed for subtle probes. Turns out Helen skipped the standard removal protocol. No HR equivalent routing. No council vote. No president's sign-off. Just a spur-of-the-moment decree before a crowd. Auto-logged as non-renewal in the portal. Dodging compliance. That's not a glitch, Marjorie said. It's a boon for you. She fetched the latest directory, confirmed Harlan's status as executive class. And crucially, the boot lacked override, meaning Helen lacked solo authority. Marjorie mapped next steps like a coach diagramming plays. Faxed the clause to the president direct. No intermediaries. Secure line. Remind her it was co-signed by Thorne. Filed under Reserve Protocol 04A. She'll recall. And Helen? She's toast. Just hasn't crashed yet. Harlan's mouth quirked. Not quite a smile. He stepped inside through a hall lined with vet patches and dusty family snaps. Into his study. The fax machine hummed. Still plugged in. Harlan distrusted email for big stuff, called it a murmur, fax a roar. He fed the original 12.3C copy into the tray. To President Lydia Voss, private governance activation. The machine word. Filling the room. Below the clause. In blocky script. Harlan added 4 words, effective immediately. C clause. He watched the final page feed through. The heft of 20 years now faxed. Blinking transmission complete. Lydia would get it pre-dawn. And Harlan knew her reaction cold. She'd been there drafting it. She might have ceded daily ops to the board. But she feared 2 things. Lawsuits and founders with elephant memories. Harlan sought no vengeance. No spectacle. Just physics pulling the haughty down. And with that clause live, Helen wasn't on firm ground. She hovered over a pit. By 5:45 a.m., Lydia Voss stared at the fax like it'd devour the HOA in her home office. Robe loose. Yoga mat rolled by the door. Plan was an early committee tea with donors to soften Helen's abrasiveness. Her phrase. But that died seeing the header. Section 12.3C activation. There it was. The dormant mind exploded. She skipped calling Helen. Skipper aide. Called Silas Reed. Board secretary since Reagan. And Vera Lang. Longtime counsel. The type who recited covenants like poetry. Sipped herbal tea like whiskey. Meet at center. Now, 30 minutes later, they huddled in the community boardroom. Shades half pulled. Dawn light slashing like interrogation beams. Vera leafed the fax. Lips tight. Silas sat stiff. Hands over a notepad idle since the pandemic bylaws. No approval, Vera muttered. Not from you. Not anyone with clout. Lydia sighed deep. I warned Helen to pause. Harlan's status is tangled. You didn't document it, Silas noted. Fact. No judgment. No, Lydia conceded. Face rubbing. Thought it obvious. Outside. Across the lot. Harlan parked in his usual spot. Number 4. Still labeled founding member, though the tag meant zilch lately. He emerged with that audit day calm. Same khakis. No guard halted him. No portal ping denied. It worked, naturally, since no one told facilities to yank it, and no one knew who'd truly ousted him. And since Harlan pinned half the rules keeping gates locked or open, he bypassed the main hall, slid his old key card into the admin door, still coded founder override, and strode to the back office, the penthouse space, where founders once bickered over budgets and beautification, now mostly vacant save emergencies. The lounge lingered, leather seats, dusty coffee maker, HVAC hum unchanged since 10. In the corner, under a framed, original plat map, a lone oak desk. Not flashy, just waiting. Unsat for years. But Harlan had the key, a brass relic. Not Helen's new fobs. Lock clicked. Drawer slid. Inside, sealed envelope marked founding lead only, and a notepad embossed H. Whitaker in faded gold. He said nothing, just sat, opened the pad, and reviewed the matrix like uninterrupted. Meanwhile, down the hall, Lydia paced. If valid, Vera tapped her pen. Harlan's removal voids. His vote reactivates. And we must notify full board in 24 hours, Silas added. Worse, Vera said. He's now governance lead. Role Helen axed. Lydia paled. That wasn't hers to cut. No, Vera agreed. But she proclaimed it publicly, so Harlan's reinstatement isn't optional. It's mandated. Lydia glanced hallward. He's here already. Isn't he? Vera didn't reply. Didn't need to. Harlan had returned, not with fanfare, not vengeance, via protocol, via the systems Helen mocked as outdated clutter. And as sun crested, the quiet man in the lounge corner became the pivot the neighborhood silently orbited, not by force, but design. The boardroom felt like a PDA meeting tried lawyering, too much laminate, too many community-first posters, and a Keurig no one mastered. Helen breezed in like pitching a bake sale. Pastel cardigan, no scarf, pricey watch flashing under fluorescence. You'd swear she was unveiling new playgrounds, tossing her tote on the table. Thank for the quick huddle. Team, she said, flashing her HOA grin. Thrilled to align before next beautification drive. I know questions swirl on recent shifts. I'll be concise. She flipped her tablet, projecting a deck. Slide 1, Willow Creek forward, realignment and optimization. Below, stock photo of a pristine lawn. Quote on courage from some influencer. Vera's face stayed stone. Silas blinked. Lydia stood at table's end, arms crossed like on a sinking ship, pondering salvage. Helen clicked slide 2. You've heard we're phasing legacy seats. Foundational? Sure, but misaligned with our vision. Think eco-friendly. Think app-integrated. Think who greenlit Harlan's boot. Lydia cut in, voice slicing. Helen paused, blinked, chuckled like chit-chat. We needed agile moves. Harlan got it, clean cut. No fuss. Vera slid a sheet across. Gentle as poison. Read this aloud. Helen glanced. Frowned. Reread. Quiet. Lydia neared. You ousted a founder with live rights. Sans my okay. Sans review. Helen's nervous laugh. Wait. Harlan? He was just. Legacy? I didn't know you didn't, Vera echoed flat. Skipped articles. Reserved protocol. Founder docs emailed twice at onboarding. Told they were obsolete. Helen snapped. Pitch rising. Half irrelevant post-expansion. Lydia archbrow. By whom? You. Helen's face twitched. Swagger's first fracture. Shoulders rigid. Jaw grinding unwelcome truth. He was replaceable, but held voting rights, Lydia said. Still in ledger. And via 12.3c, which he tripped, you've rejigged the board unauthorized. Vera pointed bottom. Self-activating. Irreversible. As of now, Harlan swings all decisions till reassignment or revocation, both needing his nod. Helen gaped at the page like betrayal. Deck lingered on screen. Next, consolidate roles. Streamline governance. Lydia eyed it. Then Helen. Your governance just streamlined right out. Helen's mouth gaped. Soundless. It dawned. Not a slip. A bomb. And she'd yanked the pin publicly before the block. Smirk vanished. Not rage replaced it, dawning. She'd not just booted a guy. She tried erasing the wrong route from Willow Creek's foundation. And the system self-corrected. Tension could have cracked the laminate. Helen sat frozen, eyes drilling the claws like it'd rewrite. Lydia silenced, not doubt. But the next voice needed no intro. Door eased open. No slam. No stomp. Just Harlan. Same khakis. Same poise. Eyes sweeping Sans rush like he'd never left. Just grabbed coffee to finish 20 years' work. He skipped in seats. Skipped Helen's side. Went to the chair by the ledger. Governance lead spot vacant since Helen's reform years back. Chair held the charger tangle and flyers. Harlan coiled the cord neat. Set aside. Then scanned table. Lydia. Vera. Silent members. Folks, he said, no bite. No venom. Measured calm. I'd rather not reclaim my old seat. Built what needed there. But given governance voids and procedural lapses, I'll enter 'em as lead through transition. No objections. Silas noted quiet. Vera nodded faint. Lydia exhaled relief. Veiled. And Helen? Looked oxygen-starved. Eyes wide. Lips parted. Hand clutching agenda, remote, like time rewinder. No one gave her floor. No input query. She didn't try. Outside glass. I spied newbie Tara. Helen once claimed could enforce better with cuter signs by the door. Arms tight. Quivering as a vet handed her files. Eyes red. She shuffled out. Heels soft on tile. Helen didn't watch. Avoided mirrors of her mess. Meanwhile, Harlan drew his notepad. Margins crammed with timestamps. Points. Refs most ignored. Flipped blank. Ask calm. Start with pending appointments review? Not question, reclamation. No spite. No drama. Just space reclaimed. Always is quietly. And that presence needs no volume. When it arrives in a room, thinking it buried, it roars louder than speeches. Harlan didn't gloat. Didn't need to. Room knew the boss. Again. By noon, board held closed vote. Brief. Formal. Unanimous. Harlan's rights reinstated. Seat activated under reserve. Doc needed no tweaks. His name lingered. System awaited. Vera logged. Per 12.3c. Harlan Whitaker resumes oversight till reassignment. Immediate. Then unspoken part all new brood. Lydia to Harlan. Review exec alignment. Advise continuity. Prioritize stability. Code for. Who stays? Goes. We've foolishly kept. Harlan nodded once. No swell of wind. Pulled notepad. Same pen. Poise. Jotted. Assessment. Within hour. Helen's name flagged for review. By 1:30 p.m., management escorted her out, not cuffs, not show. Corporate chills saying, not personal, but done. Badge kill pre-exit. Doors that once welcomed blinked red. She walked wordless, no fight. Stunned stiff. Like realizing the bridge burned was her sole support. Across center. Admin circulated memo. Subtle. Internal. Directory tweak. Signature update. Harlan Whitaker. Governance advisor. No blast. No town hall. Just presence. Hit screens like block whisper. No direct chat. But ripple. Text paused. Eyes to doors. Even jaded gardeners paused. Somehow, Shout loud. Same room where Helen gloated Harlan's obsolescence, now hushed. Not fear, recognition. We'd seen the boot. Felt cringe when she said dog walker could do it. Stood mute. Complicit. As he nodded. Left. Now returned. Not rebellion. Rage via protocol. System she dismissed as relics. And the woman who crowed, "We control your home now," erased by a clause Harlan penned in '04. On yellow paper. Fax from machine older than half the board. I spotted Harlan later, strolling past the admin pod. Same khakis. Thermos. Nodded subtle, like shared jest. No smirk. Swagger. Just man acing his role. Company knowing. This time, whole hood knew. It was precisely 1 week later when the reporters arrived. Not the usual fluff about green initiatives or holiday lights. This mattered. New vendors. Compliance overhauls. Full HOA leadership reset. Invites fluttered like peace offerings. But no mistake, not party. Public fix. Hood needed to show stability. Clarity. Accountability most. The stage was sparse. No banners. No swag. Podium. Screen with vendor logos. 7 chairs arc clean. 6 filled. Lydia. Silas. Vera. New investor faces. 7th. Slightly aside. Out of main light. Harlan. No card. No fuss. No suit, just slacks. Shirt. Khakis folded over chair. No pad on lap. Pen in spiral, like ready for notes over headlines. Lydia mic'd up. Looked weary, not beaten. Like she'd decluttered a decades-old attic. Found gold. "We're announcing leadership recalibration," she said. But more. Someone reminded structure counts. Our covenants. Integrity. Scaffolding don't run on titles or trends. On people. Paused. Glanced left. A silent reformer ensured no collapse. Not yelling. Threatening. Remembering what we forgot. A young reporter. From a blog chasing scandals over stories. Hand up who? Lydia didn't rush. Turned. Gestured. Harlan looked up. No wave. Stand, just faint nod. Pen fingered. Like weighing if moment merited ink. Room stilled, not awe. Realization. A member. Maybe Clara from Beautification. Leaned to Silas. Whisper carrying. Helen ousted the man who built the system she gamed. No laughs, true. Post-event. Crowd milled front. Handshakes. Cards. Synergy vows. Harlan didn't dawdle. Stood quiet. Tucked notepad. Exited right. I saw him 20 minutes on. Near admin wing. Glass once etched Helen Voss. President bare now. Letters gone. Glue ghosts. Office dark. Desk wiped. Chair askew like hasty flea. Harlan passed sans pause. No glance. No slow. Steady stride, unchanged through boots. Shuffles. Betrayals. Board plays. Because some rage. Some slack scream. Some storm. Then Harlan types. No voice raise. Fist. They script rules quiet. Thorough. 20 years ahead. Wait, not justice. Revenge. For arrogance to trip trap. Some fight. Others let you self-snare.